Hey there! So, today I'm here with a special guest, and what I want to show you is how to make super easy, super beginner friendly clothes for your Barbie. I have 3 ideas for you, and they're all made just from a bunch of rectangles. So, like I said, even if you are super beginner, then you will be able to make them, and I will just show you step by step how to make every one of them. I also made a new Instagram just for my Barbie clothes and some matching accessories for you, like scrunchies and hair ties and stuff like that I want to sell. And if you're interested in buying them or in just seeing what I'm making, then click the link in the description box below. And yeah, without further ado, let's get started. So these are the projects we're gonna do today. I know it's a bit different from what I would normally do, but I've really been enjoying making these tiny clothes, and so I figured why not share it. Also, I think it would make a really cute gift for any Barbie lover in your life. First, let me show you how to make this cute yet simple dress. So for this quickest one, you will need obviously a Barbie you're making that dress for, some lightweight fabric, I'm using cotton, a thin elastic, and your usual sewing equipment like scissors, tailor's chalk, measuring tape, and so on. Then we need to measure the Barbie. If you have a regular model like mine, you can use my measurements, but you can also follow these steps to make it for any Barbie that you have. So measure your Barbie's chest circumference and the desired length of your dress. In my case, it's 13 centimeters width and 16 centimeters length. Then we need to multiply the width by 1.2 and then add 2 centimeters seam allowance to both width and length. I'm gonna make the dress from 2 pieces, so then we need to divide width by 2, so we have 2 rectangles like this. The end measurements in my case are 18 by 9 centimeters. By the way, the math is not really precise here, I just round the numbers. Then, to prevent the fabric from fraying, I'm gonna overlock all the edges. A zigzag stitch from a regular machine will work just fine if you don't have an overlocker. Then we need to sew 2 pieces together on one of the long sides. This is gonna be one of the side seams. When it's done, hem top and bottom. The top hem should be wide enough so we can feed the elastic through it later. When this is done, measure the waistband position. I wanted it to actually sit under the Barbie's breast, so in my case it was 3 centimeters. Draw a line 3 centimeters or whatever your measurement is from the top edge of the dress. Then cut 2 pieces of elastic, one for the top edge and one for the waistline. I didn't measure it, I just wrapped it around my doll and cut the right amount. Mark the middle point of the waistband elastic and then pin it at the end of the drawn line. Now we will have to sew it on that line, stretching it. That's why we marked the middle point, so we can match it with the side seam while sewing. The elastic is thin, so sew it very slow so you can control it and make sure you're actually sewing over it. I made the first 2 stitches moving the needle by hand to make sure the beginning is secured. When you hit the middle point, then stretch it so the end of elastic meets the end of the material. Now take the second elastic and a safety pin and feed it through the top hem. When the end of the elastic hits the end of the channel, secure it, making a few stitches there, and then do the same on the other side. The last step is to sew the other side seam and the dress is done. The second outfit is a matching set, a crop top and a maxi skirt. Just like for the previous project, you will need some lightweight fabric. I will use cotton again, a thin elastic and the regular stuff. The measurements we need this time are hips, in my case it's 13 centimeters, length from her waist to the ground, in my case 17 centimeters, chest, so 13 centimeters again, the same as for the last project, and the top length, I went for 4 centimeters. So here are our pieces. For the skirt's width, we need to add 1 centimeter ease and 2 centimeter seam allowance. So in my case, width will be 16 centimeters. And again, we need to add 2 centimeter seam allowance to length. So in my case, it will be 19. For the top, we need to add 2 centimeter ease to the width and 2 centimeter seam allowance to both measurements. So in my case, it will be 15 by 6 centimeters. First, overlock or zigzag stitch all the edges, then hem the top and the bottom of both the top and the skirt. Both top hems, I mean the top hem of the top and the top hem of the skirt, will have the elastic inside. So like with the first dress, make sure the hem is wide enough for the elastic. Top and bottom hems are the shorter edges in case of the skirt and longer edges in case of the top. Now stretch your elastic on the doll's hips to make sure it will be possible to put the skirt on and cut the amount that fits. Next, cut a piece for the upper chest area where the top will sit. Feed the elastic through hems and secure the ends exactly the same as for the first dress. When that is done, we can close both pieces. For the top, just sew the two shorter edges together. Seam on the skirt will be on the front, and I'm also gonna do a slit. For that, just mark where you want the slit to end and sew from the top to that point. Now we only have to hem the slit. Start pinning it, and for the width of it, just follow seam allowance of the seam that you just did, and then towards the bottom make it at a small angle so the slit would be more open and visible. Then hem it, being careful not to catch any fabric in that seam. And it's finished. The last dress is a tiny bit different from the previous project, so we will need some lightweight fabric. Mine was cotton again, a thin ribbon, and an elastic thread and an extra bobbin for it. Now again, we need chest measurements, which is still 13 centimeters for my Barbie, and length that this time for me is 12 centimeters. To the length, we just need to add 2 centimeters seam allowance. The width, we need to multiply by 1.5, and here I don't add seam allowance as it will be pretty stretchy, so in my case, the end measurements are 20 by 14 centimeters. Then again, first step is to overlock all the edges and then hem top and bottom edge, which are the long edges in that case. Now that we have it, the next step is to sew a few rows of stitches using an elastic thread. For that, hand wind the bobbin first, trying not to stretch it too much. Put it in your machine like you normally do. And start sewing at the top. Remember to sew with right side up, so the elastic thread from the bobbin will be on the wrong side. You can backstitch at the end of every row and start the next row normally, Or to save some thread like me, at the end of every row, put the needle down, shift the dress, sew 2 to 3 stitches down, and then shift again and make another row, so you create a kind of a zigzag like this. For next rows, I used the width of my machine's foot as a guide to sew straight lines. I didn't really measure where to finish, I just tried it on my doll to see if it covers the whole chest area. Change your thread back to regular and sew the back seam. Now we need to figure out where to put the straps. For that, try the dress on your Barbie. It will keep sliding down, but don't worry about it, the straps will keep it up. Make sure the back seam is in the middle and mark the placement of one strap with a pin. Then take it off and put the second pin symmetrically on the other side. At the back, just put them in exact same spots as on the front. Then cut 4 pieces of ribbon. I cut 12 cm long pieces, but they were a bit tricky to tie, so I would suggest 20 cm or even more. You can always trim them later. Pin them in the marked spots, make sure to catch them in 2 points so they don't move. If your ribbon is as thin as mine, change your stitch length to 1 mm to make sure to sew it together with at least 2 stitches hitting the ribbon. Then carefully sew them. I lowered the needle by hand 2 times to make 2 stitches before removing pins to make sure it will stay in place. The last step is to tie the ribbons to make straps. The easiest method for me is to keep my Barbie with my legs, and if your ribbons are short like mine, it's easier to use tweezers. And that's it for the last project. Alright, that's it. I hope you liked it, and if so, then make sure to click the thumbs up. And if you give a go making them yourself, then make sure to tag me on Instagram. I would love to see your creations. And if you want to see more sewing or cross-stitching videos from me, then consider subscribing. And I think that's it for today, so see you in the next one. Bye!